So, as it turns out, I've actually already reviewed Spectre a long time ago. Not that long ago. Actually, when it came out back in 2015, when my channel was in its infancy. So, what I'm going to do for this video is I am going to react to that very old and very crappy review for Spectre, because I do think my opinions on the film by now has changed since then. Also, I just hate how old and how poorly edited and executed that video was in comparison to how I'm doing my videos nowadays. So in an effort to let old things die and do things the way I want to do them now, I'm going to react to it. And then afterward, I may or may not give you my thoughts on, my overall thoughts on the film as I see it now. Anyway, let's just get into this. You ready? Let's go. If you haven't seen Skyfall, I suggest you do before you see this movie, because if you see this movie before seeing Skyfall, Skyfall will be spoiled for you. So if you're gonna go and see this movie, see Skyfall first, then come and see this movie. Just letting you know. Now, with this movie, directed by Sam Mendes, you can see that he was a bit of a fan of the old James Bond movies, like with the unbelievable gadgets and stuff, and he's incorporated that into this. Not a lot, but, you know, enough for it to be noticed. It doesn't really contract from the movie, but it doesn't really add anything to the movie, it's just there. Now, that is true. This movie does feel like it's going more in the direction of the Bond of old, with lots of fancy gadgets, beautiful places, stuff like that. And oftentimes in the movie, when there's this big action shot or something, the Bond theme will just blare. And I think it's a bit in contrast to how Sam Mendes approached Skyfall. Knowing everything I do now and knowing how he approached Skyfall and then seeing him and how he did Spectre was a bit different, but kind of the same as all the other original Bond movies that we've all come to know. The cliches and tropes of this movie follows a lot of those cliches and tropes. Now, I gotta say this. The romance is rushed so much that it's unbelievable. When the moment finally comes when they part, that's not really a spoiler, because that happens in most romantic movies. The couple, if that's what you want to call these two, part. It's meant to be emotional and you're meant to be invested into it. You're not really invested into their romance at all because it's rushed. And you could sort of see that Bond's love interest in this, still can't pronounce her name, they were trying to make her a tough character, someone that doesn't need a man. Like, you could see them trying to do that, like it had potential, but it just didn't work out. Okay, I don't agree with one word of that. I think now that the romance in this movie is not the best, okay? It's not anything like what we experienced with Bond and Vesper Lynd. But I do think it almost lives up to that. It's not as bad or as emotionally lacking as the other ones that we've seen previously. This one, I think, was done alright. It's fine. So, yes, I completely disagree with what I was saying back then. Okay, so clearly I didn't know who the hell Blofeld was, because I didn't mention him in that review. Blofeld is a big part of this movie and previous Bond movies. This is what I think of, I can't even pronounce his first name, but this is what I think of Blofeld now. I didn't talk about him at all in that review, so I'm going to talk about him in this review. I thought he was just fine, okay? Christoph Waltz gives a phenomenal performance yet again. He's a great actor. He gives it his all for this. But as a character, right, the writing for this character I thought was a little off, because, not necessarily because he's not villainous, but because of how they try and bring him into the movie. They try and bring Blofeld into the movie by insinuating that he was the cause or the writer or the author of all of Bond's pain in the previous movies played by Daniel Craig. So Blofeld is introduced into this movie as someone who was always there, and I just don't see that. I don't see it, especially with Skyfall. Okay, I can sort of see it with some of the, like, Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. I can see it. I can especially see it in Quantum of Solace. The presence of Spectre is very present in Quantum of Solace. But in a movie like Skyfall, and the villain that they had for that movie being Silver, I just don't see how... It's hard for me to picture Blofeld behind all of that, or involved in any of that. Regardless of that, though, this Bond movie is not that bad, okay? I did say in another video that I released that same year that I liked Spectre more than Skyfall. I didn't say it in that review, I said it in my top 10 of 2015. But it's still a fun movie, in my opinion, better than Skyfall. Spectre was on that list, and I said that I liked Spectre more than Skyfall. Now I'm saying the other thing, because I see Skyfall in a much different, in a much more different light. And I also see this movie in the same way. It's not as good as Skyfall, but it's good. And that's really what any of us asked for, is just a good Bond film. We didn't ask for the best, we just want a good movie, and that's what we got. That being said, though... Excuse me, hello? My next review is No Time to Die. Hello? Let's hope that one is a good movie. It got pushed back to November, for fuck's sake.